Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, I'm really excited to show you a new collection from our friends at Hunkydory called Painted Petals. If you love using floral images in your card making as much as I do, then this set is for you. We have a luxury topper collection, an 8x8 paper pad, and a pack of Mary cardstock. So it is a fantastic value-packed collection today. So let's take a closer look, and we can begin with our paper pad. So I'm going to move aside our other elements here just for a minute, and we can flip through our gorgeous paper pad. So this is 48 sheets of patterned 8x8 papers. You have 4 each of 12 different double-sided designs. And you can see here on the back how they can be grouped together, making it really easy to coordinate. But I thought we could actually flip through everything and see all of these different designs. So you can see it's a beautiful watercolor style of floral. So this would be one side, and then on the other side you have the companion. So remember, you're getting 4 each of 12 different designs. You have got a lot to play with in here. Really gorgeous watercolor paintings. I think these are just some of the most stunning designs. And Hunkydory is well known for their illustrations and designs. They really do create some beautiful artwork. And we are lucky then that we get to use this in our own artwork. Again, florals all over backgrounds, as well as some focals, some corner images on here too. They can be used for the front of your card, the inside of your card. Of course, they would also make wonderful backgrounds and designs for any paper crafts. If you do tag making, if you do any kind of scrapbooking, these are just perfect. So that's the 8x8 paper pack. Then we've also got, of course, our topper collection. So Hunkydory is famous for their topper collections. They contain focal images, messages, and backgrounds. Now on the package it says enough to make at least 16 cards, but I know crafters and I know we can generally stretch this for even more projects. So here you can see some of the toppers on this sheet. Now these are all die cut, they're perforated, so you can just punch them right out of the backing sheet. Now many of these frames will be nested so that you can use them together, you can offset the images, you can have lots of design options here, but you can see the large focals, smaller elements, some accent pieces, and messages, which really do come in handy. So you will have 8 sheets of foiled and die-cut toppers, 2 sheets each of 4 different themes. So I'm flipping through the different colorways here. And of course you can see this metallic shine. Well, that's because they do this beautiful foiling, and that gives just an added bit of elegance there. So those are your toppers, and then you will have 8 sheets of printed cardstock. Again, 2 each of 4 designs. So if you look at this sheet, and then you look how these can be combined together. So you've got elements that are perfectly coordinated. So again, your beautiful florals, that gorgeous watercolor effect. This is one of my favorites. I think that's beautiful. Pinks, greens, blues, lavender. Now you'll notice on this one, you've got some accent foiling. So you will also have 8 sheets of accent foiled cardstock, and you can see the foiling on here. Again, everything is coordinated to go together. Look at that beautiful foiled border on there. And then our last sheet here. So those are the toppers. And then we've also got our Mary cardstock. Now, you're going to see a reflection probably of my camera up there. So this is 16 sheets of metallic cardstock. You'll have 2 sheets each of 8 different colors. They are absolutely stunning. This is such a great basic element to have in your crafting stash. The silver is beautiful. So they're highly reflective, but they work beautifully as accents or backgrounds. They also will die cut perfectly as well too. So You have a lot of options to go with those. And again, you will have 2 sheets of 8 different colors there. And of course, they coordinate beautifully with the toppers. Everything is designed to coordinate perfectly to make it easy to create beautiful cards and other paper crafts. It's a fabulous value-packed collection from our friends at Hunkydory, and they're gorgeous and they are so much fun to use. I'm so glad that you're here today, and I'm really excited to explore the creative possibilities with you. So come play with us. Let's start with this card, which combines the materials in the topper collection with the Miri cardstock for matting. And this is a really simple card layout with one single focal, and this is a layout that works with just about any of the toppers in the collection. And we'll see that with our second card as well. So first we have this background paper, and this is the one that I used. So it's got a gorgeous corner element over here and then also one up here. And this is the area that I trimmed out to go on the front of my card. So I've trimmed this slightly smaller than my card front and then matted it onto the coordinating green Miri cardstock, and then just simply glued it to the front of the card. And then I've added this topper. Now, you're spoiled for choice on this topper sheet, as with all of them. This is the design that I used. But of course, you could use this square element here too. And you've got the 3 rectangular designs up here at the top too. So you have plenty of options here, but this is the one that I picked. And you'll notice that I've added on here some dimension with our caviar beads. Now the caviar beads are 2mm no-hole beads. They come in little packages like this. You get a lot of mileage from your single caviar bead package. And of course they come in lots of different colors. The one that I'm using here is the green, and it just matches beautifully. So I've added that in some of the flower centers. So let's take a look at this technique. It's a really easy way to add dimension. So I've got my die cut punch out. I'll move aside my card for now, and I'm going to put my topper in a shallow plastic box here. And then what I'll do is take my white acrylic glue. I'm going to use a precision applicator for this one. Just makes it a little bit easier. And I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive in the flower centers. And this is a little bit like adding glitter or embossing powder to a project. So next, I'll just sprinkle some of these on. It doesn't matter if I overdo it and I've got some that kind of roll away. That's what the box is for. Seal up the bag, that's important. And then I just need to let these dry. Now, while I'm letting them dry, a good tip to keep on hand, grab one of those acrylic blocks you probably have from stamping and just place that on top. That will hold the beads in place. Because it's a clear block, you can see through it and make sure that they don't sort of scoot off to the side or something. When this is dry, then you can return those excess beads right back to your package. So as you can see, it's one way to make that bead package go a lot farther. So a little bit will make lots and lots of different cards. I just love adding these in the flower centers, so I think that just creates some nice dimension. Now I've also got some dimension on the topper here. I've added this with foam tape, and then I've got the sentiment down at the bottom also with foam tape. I have a little bow tied in gingham ribbon, and I use the yellow to contrast with that. So the ribbon pack, this is from hot off the press. I don't have as much ribbon left. Unfortunately, your pack will be much bigger. But it comes with a variety of different gingham colors, and they just add a really nice touch to cards, especially floral cards. Florals and ginghams go together really nicely. And then for the card inside, I've got a leftover piece of that really softly patterned paper, that cardstock, and I've edged it with a border. Now this is one of the die cut punch outs from the topper sheet, so I know it coordinates perfectly. And then I've got one of the rectangular shaped toppers in here. And I have a coordinating deepest sympathy message. Now this all comes together really nicely. I love the hints of the metallic foiling in here. I love having messages that go for lots of different card occasions, especially those that are often really difficult to create. Our second card has the same layout as our sympathy card, which just shows how easy it is to use these toppers as focal elements. So with both of the cards, we've got a large topper as our very eye-catching focal here. We've also got our beautiful coordinating cardstock as the background, and then a smaller sentiment down at the bottom. Both cards also have a bow, but rather than the gingham bow over here, I've made this one myself using cardstock, paper, and a cutting die. And we'll talk about that technique as well. But I thought it might be helpful to see these two cards side by side so you really get a sense of how versatile these large focal elements are. So let's talk a little bit more about the construction of this card. First of all, I've started with this sheet of 8x8 pattern paper, and I've just trimmed off a little portion of it to use along the fold of my card here. So this is from the 8x8 set. And then I've combined that with this beautiful foiled cardstock piece from the Toppers collection. And I've got that gorgeous foiling on here. Now, this sheet, of course, you can use the borders top and bottom. You can also turn them on their side, which is what I did here. So I've got the floral, I've got this really beautiful darker pink, gorgeous foiling detail on here, and then the lighter pink going along the side. So I've got a really nice combination of tone on tone pinks and very soft, gentle blues. Really beautiful, super easy to do. Now I've also added some of the metallic foiling on here with our Mary cardstock, and this is a light blue, and I've simply added this so that I've got a little border on each side here. I chose the blue rather than the silver Mary cardstock because I wanted to pick up some of the blues in the background here of my topper and then also here in this background. Now when I added my topper to the card, as I mentioned earlier, with many of these frames, you've got 3 frames or multiple frames together. If I flip it over, I think you can see the perforation on here a little bit better. So if I wanted, I could separate this piece and have 3 or 2 different sections, but I wanted to keep everything together. And to do that, I've simply flipped it over. I wanted this to be added with some foam tape, so I've put my foam tape covering the perforation lines on here so that I make sure that everything stays together, nothing inadvertently separates. And this becomes one complete piece that I've simply attached to the front of my card. And I could have stopped there by just adding my focal and then maybe the sentiment down here, but I wanted to add in that bow. And that has been simply created using a die from hot off the press. This is one of my favorites for just adding a little touch to a card. So this is the bow dies, quick and easy, and they are quick and easy to do. You've got 2 different sizes here, so the large, which is this one that I've used, and then the smaller piece here. So each one will have 3 shapes that go together. You'll have this piece that looks like sunglasses, this funny one that's like an arrow shaped, and then you also have the center portion there too. So let's have a look. I've got some pieces die cut and we can take a look at how to put everything together. So there's our bow piece, there's the back piece, and then here is the center piece. So you can probably pick up that this is the one that's going underneath. This piece is this one here, and then the center, as you can see. Now you don't have to do anything with the bottom portion until the end comes. This is really the portion you need to focus on. So let's have a look here. I really do like to use my glue and my precision applicator for this portion. Just makes everything a little bit easier to manage. So all I need to do is take this tab to the center and glue it down, and then take this tab to the center and glue it down too. Now you don't want to fold this, but you want to instead kind of roll it so that you still have some dimension. So if I hold this like so, you can see that space in there. And I use double-sided paper because I thought it might be a little bit easier to see. So I'll put some adhesive right there in the center and then roll this over and secure those two together. Now, if you have a lot of patience or not a lot going on, you can stand here and hold this until the glue dries. I doubt that you have extra time on your hands, so you may want to use either a little mini clip like I've got here. A paper clip also works for this. So you want to let that glue dry completely, and then what you can do is repeat on the other side. So I want to show you what this looks like. So this is the back, and then here is the front. So again, same process, roll this over, put some glue down, and then you will have a piece that looks like this. So all you need to do here is come in with your center piece, use a little bit more glue, position that down there. I've got one that's already dry. And then flip it over and fold back these pieces and glue them in place. And then you'll have something that looks like this. So again, let me show you here with our finished piece. Once you have this center portion of the bow created and glued, then you'll come in with your bottom portion and simply layer the two up one on top of the other. So I think you can see how that comes together. Now, because you're going to be sort of rolling these two sides of the bow together, I don't recommend using the cardstock. It's a really nice heavy cardstock, and it's difficult to roll it as much as you can roll it more easily with the pattern paper. So that's what I've used here. And then I use the metallic cardstock, that Mary cardstock, for the bottom portion and also for the centerpiece. And I think this just adds a nice fun touch to the card. Then for my card inside, I've got some more of the patterned paper here. And then I've got another one of the toppers, again, keeping the two frames together, or the frame and the center portion together, but just have a look. This could be the card front, actually. So this can go on the inside, or of course would make a pretty card front too. And then I've got a sentiment popped up there with a little bit of foam tape to finish it off. Here's another design with our versatile layout. So again, I've got my large focal topper here in the center. I'm using beautiful pattern paper in the background. I've got some smaller toppers down here and even a bow, which has been tied in ribbon that measures 1/8 of an inch wide. So it's a nice subtle touch. And then here coming along the side, along the curve of my focal, I used a die cut piece that I die cut from Mary cardstock. So again, you can see how versatile this layout is. When you've got a large, gorgeous focal, you don't need to do a whole lot more, but you certainly can. So this time I've covered my card front with blue Mary cardstock and then cut this piece of 8x8 pattern paper slightly smaller than the card front. Now before I glued it down onto the front of my card, I inked around the outside edges with blueberry ink, and that just creates a nice bit of definition there. And then I've added my topper on here as well. So this is the design that I used from this portion of the sheet. Again, you've got a variety of nested frames in here. And what I've done is created some dimension by gluing down this outer frame flat onto the card front. And then the two center pieces, so the floral and then the silver frame, I've glued together, foam taped together with some dimension on here. So this portion is a little bit higher up than the outside frame, and it just creates a nice little bit of depth on there. And then I've got my three elements down here. This one's glued down. These two are up on varying levels of foam tape. Now you might notice as I'm tilting this that the shine around the outside edge of this frame as well as the outside edge of my card has been distressed a little bit, and that has been done with a super sanding tool. And this is a technique that I like to use when I'm working with metallic cardstock because I think it does really give us another nice effect here. So maybe if I'm angling this, you can see some of the distressing on here. Really easy to do. I've also done it on this leaf element here. So let's talk about the leaf. Well, this one comes from the Bigger Leaves and Ferns #2 die set. So you've got 3 elements on here. Now, Paulette told me that this is an extremely limited supply over at Paper Wishes. And after it's gone, the set will be retired. So just so you know about that. But I did want to use it because I wanted to show you how beautifully the Miri cardstock die cuts. So let me bring in a piece of white cardstock here so you can see this a little bit better. I've die cut this leaf from the green metallic cardstock, and I think it just gives a beautiful shine. Now I could leave this as is, or I could distress it, of course, using my sanding tool, and that's what I've done. Now, when I do this, I'm going to be very careful because the leaves are, a little bit delicate, so I don't want to inadvertently tear anything as I'm doing my sanding. So I'm holding this down and going pretty slowly. You might wonder, well, should I do my sanding before I do my die cutting? And you could do that, but if you'll notice on these dies, you've got some embossing on here as well. So the leaves have some detail, which means that if I sand before I die cut, I won't enhance the embossing on here as much. So just to keep that in mind when you're doing this. Now, I also sanded the outside edge of my card, and to do this, also quite easy, just go along the outside edge and placing this flat down, you can sand away. It will reveal the white core, and maybe you can see it a bit better there. But it's a nice way to create another effect with your metallic cardstock. So a simple sanding tool will do the trick. Then for my card inside here, I've got some more of that beautiful 8x8 pattern paper. I have a strip of 8x8 paper here creating a border. I have a topper from a border from the topper set, and then another message, and then another little snippet here. Now this portion used to be a bigger one, so you can cut and use your die cut pieces in their entirety. You can also just come in with a pair of scissors and simply snip elements apart and then use them to go as accent pieces on your card as you wish. And that's what I've done here, just to create an additional bit of dimension on the inside of our card. I ventured away from our classic card layout here because I really wanted to explore how we can create our own focals using that Miri cardstock and some cutting dies. So I've kept the background of my card pretty simple. This is the sheet that I'm using for the background, and I've simply trimmed down a portion from this side of the sheet so that I've got this nice kind of faux texture white area in the contrasting dark green. I've got a beautiful border right in the center. Could not be easier for creating my card background. So I've trimmed that down slightly smaller than the front of my card, and then created a Miri cardstock floral focal here. And this is using the Frosted Flowers die set from Paper Wishes. You can see here you've got 2 flower options, and you've got the silhouettes as well as the detail. Plus you've got lots of leaf embellishments here too. So let's have a look at this. Now here's what it will look like with the flower. So I've die cut the silhouette from black, and then the white is our detail portion. And all you do is simply layer one on top of the other. When you do this, I really recommend using sticky specks. So these are micro dots of adhesive, and they make it really easy to adhere, especially detail die images together. So I've trimmed off a portion of one of my sheets of sticky specks. Simply place that down onto the adhesive side, pull this back up, Now I've transferred the adhesive to the back of my paper, and I can simply glue the two together. And the hold is really nice. It's a really sturdy hold, really reliable, and it can also be squinched around a little bit if you need to do some repositioning, but otherwise it will hold in place. So that's with the flower. And then you've also got all of these different leaf elements here too, which really come in handy for building your bouquet. And that's what I've done here. So I've got the two different flowers, and I've used the light and the blue Mary cardstock and layered those up a little bit differently. So dark on top of light, light on top of dark. And then I've got my green and silver leaf elements here, glued down also with sticky specs. So again, this way I don't have to worry about liquid glue kind of coming out or anything getting messy on there. Then I've got my topper here, which I've just added with a little bit of foam tape. Then for my card inside, I've got some more of that patterned cardstock, plus some more of the flowers and leaves. Super simple and easy to do, and I think die cutting small portions is also a great way to make use of any leftover snippets of metallic cardstock. Again, helping us to get the best value from our paper crafting supplies. Our final project is a shaped card made with the pull-up card die, which opens like so. And this is a really fun design to create using your pattern papers, your cardstock, and your toppers. So let's have a look at the die that I'm using. The pull-up card cutting die comes with two pieces included. So you'll have your card, and you will also have your pull-up mechanism. Now the card, as you can see, this is all one piece. The pull-up mechanism will be adhered to this when you get those pieces die cut. Now the nice thing with hot off the press is they always give you some written instructions. You've got a project idea here, and then you've also got your diagram on here. And the folder works really nicely as a storage folder too. So you notice I've got my dies tucked right inside here so everything stays together. So let me show you here with the pieces that I have die cut. We can take a look at how to put those together. So this again, the card base, and then I've got my mechanism. Now the black lines on here, I've drawn that just so that you could really see where those fold lines are. So after you die cut this, I recommend you grab your bone folder and then fold up and crease those fold lines. And that will just make everything come together really nicely. So the top has this scalloped edge, and then this is the bottom portion, which creates a bit of a pocket. So you've got this piece, and then you've also got your folding mechanism. Again, you've got that flap, which I just use my bone folder to give extra a little bit of creasing on there. And then you'll simply glue the two together. Now, one thing that I do recommend when you're gluing your flaps together and when you're gluing your mechanism in place is to grab your extra sticky tape. And this is just going to make everything hold together a little bit more securely than any other adhesive. So what you'll do is fold up this tab, and then you're going to position the bottom of your tab with the fold of the flap. So you'll glue the two together like so, and then glue this portion up. So I've got one that has already been glued together. Makes it a little bit easier to see. If I angle this like so, you can see it creates kind of a triangular effect. So I do recommend that you glue the mechanism in place and then glue up the bottom portion. And then you'll have your pull-up card like so. Now for my card base, I used some purple solid cardstock, so you can see on the back here. And this comes from the Strawberry Delight cardstock set. So you'll need to have something at least 11 inches long to create your card base, and then you can decorate from there. And so here I've added some cardstock, some of the topper borders on here, and then of course my topper here on the top. And I've got the large piece and then a smaller one with some foam tape and again a little bit of that gingham ribbon. And then for the inside, I've got this the pull-up mechanism, which I die cut from cardstock, and then added this sentiment on here. Now, the topper has been glued flat down. Because this will be pulled up and then pushed back in, I didn't want to attach it with foam tape because I didn't want anything to be catching on there. So that is our final project of the day today. A big thank you to you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. And a thanks to our friends over at Hunkydory for yet another gorgeous collection. We're really glad to be together, and we're so happy that you are a part of our Paper Wishes family. Please feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. And we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.